I'm sorry, I'm so staticky. My hair. Anyway, my hair always looks lame in these anyway, so I shouldn't worry about it. So today, what I'm going to talk about is something that affects me apparently more than average. So this is kind of definitely something that avoidant people could have, but not everybody who is avoidant automatically has it. It's not part diagnostic criteria. But for me anyway, and again, I'm not getting into it, but obviously the reason people become avoidant is because they have it's a self-protective maladaptive coping technique or techniques that they have been doing. It's a self-protection thing, and they're trying to figure out the world and trying to make the world safe for them to be in. One of the things that I do apparently all the time, and I can't break out of it, is that I am stuck thinking that the past will predict the future, and not even like long-term trends, but recent history will predict the future. Which I know there's a lot of people who think that, okay, well, I know your history, I know where you've been, so if you have a blip, I'm just not going to pay attention to it. However, for me, if it's an extended blip, then I'm like, oh, this is how it is now. I expect to get judged for it, because I do get judged for it by people who know me. They think it's like one of my worst qualities. That they, I mean, maybe I studied too much physics, where I think that, objects go in a straight line along their current trajectory unless another action has been enacted upon them. So if somebody starts to go in a direction, I assume they're going to continue to go in this direction. It sort of boggles me if somebody comes back around. Like, why? Wait, you're doing this now, so you're doing this now. I know you used to do it this other way, but now this is how you do it. So what? You changed your mind? Again? What? Especially if it's negative. To the point where I'm not really sure that that's what's really going on, where I'm thinking that the history will predict the future. Apparently that's what I do, and I don't give people the space to change. And I've heard this from multiple people, so I don't know. I mean, I think that it's something to be aware of if you do that. If somebody suddenly starts acting consistently in a negative way about me, my assumption is, well, I guess they've come to their senses and they're gone. And that they're trying to get away from me as fast as they can, and they're going to continue to get further and farther and farther and farther and farther away, because now they, like I said, they come to their senses and they're gone. And maybe I'm too accepting of that. Okay, one of the problems with that is that I'm assuming I know what's going on. Okay, well, looks like a duck, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, duck. But You know, there's an assumption there. And again, people do change their mind. Now, I mean, I'm assuming that people sort of operate the same way I do, which is that I'm not impulsive. And I don't just, you know, react one way and then react another way and then go back and everything else. I don't. I'm you know, on or off, basically. That's it. Once I'm on, and once I'm off. I'm done. Like, for instance, if somebody has actually pushed me to the point where they're out of my life, then they are out of my life. And I don't, you know, I get people saying, you give second chances ever? And I'm like, wait a minute, no, that, if somebody's out, that means that I've given them about 500 chances and they've blown it over and over and over again. And so I've got a consistent behavior pattern and that's done. That means that I lock people in, I guess. And I don't let people change. And again, this is a protection thing because I'm predicting how people are going to behave and how they're going to treat me based on my experience. And especially my experience with them. But I keep saying but. I mean, the problem is, like I said, I assume that people are going to get fed up with me. Of course. I am a person with avoidant personality disorder. With extreme low self-esteem, and I don't think I'm worthy. I definitely don't think I'm worthy of people. And so I don't fight for them. Does that make sense? You know, like I said, if somebody decides that they're on the out with me, usually my response is something to the effect of relief that, okay, I knew this was coming and now it's come and I don't have to worry about it coming anymore. So that's how I operate, and it's a little extreme, and that's why I wanted to make sure it was like, I'm not saying this is how all avoidant people work. Some avoidant people make no predictions whatsoever, and they get burned over and over and over and over and over again. This is my coping technique. I am basically waiting for the other shoe to drop for people to go. And when they do, I'm like, okay. Thought you were going to, now you have. Okay. Now the world makes sense again if I get left. That the fact that it's been proven wrong quite a few times, that people do change. I mean, it's still, to me, and in my experience, a massive anomaly. It doesn't happen often. But again, I don't put up a fight when it happens. I'm just like, oh. And I'll try a little bit, and I'll try a little bit. Acknowledging someone is not putting up a fight for them. And when now, I'm not saying that you should fight for everybody that's trying to leave your life, because first of all, it could be something that's legit stressful to you, that you've got too many people and you need to cut them out. And if they leave and they're going, and hey, it might be win-win. Hey, okay. And of course, if you've got somebody who's abusive to you, then no, you should not be giving them chances left and right. I also hear people say, well, you know, this is how they behaved 3 years ago. And now that, you know, for the past 3 years they've been doing something different, but, you know, I know that they're like they were. This is kind of the opposite of what I'm doing, and I think that can be equally damaging. I mean, it's really nice to give people the benefit of the doubt, but people do change. Especially when you first meet somebody, they might be like gung-ho for you and then, really into it, but then you get bored and they go on to the next. So that's, I think, to me, see, that would be worse if I was, pining for the way somebody used to be. And that's why I'm the way I am, which is the complete opposite, which is, that, oh, yeah, they used to be like this when they were younger, but now they're this way and it's completely different, and it's as if they're two separate people. I know there was this history, but now they're completely different. I think those two things are actually equally wrong and damaging because they're both not flexible. And it's really hard to be flexible and to let people grow and let people change and understand that somebody might make a decision and double back on it, and somebody might not even realize they're making a decision because they're just living their life and it seems like they've changed, but in fact they've just changed their priorities and they actually haven't changed at all. That is a possibility. So pigeonholing people, it works as a maladaptive coping technique. It works to get people, keep them in a box and keep yourself safe. But it's maladaptive. It doesn't really work long term. It doesn't really work to make your life better. So be aware of that. Pay attention to that. Pay attention for when people change and how you respond and react to it. And if you're the type that says, okay, they were going this way, now they're going that way, and that's the way they're going to continue to go, and they're not going to come back around, that's a problem. You will, the problem with that is if and when they come back around, you'll be like, yeah, whatever, goodbye, because you left, so you're gone. And maybe that's not fair. And maybe, again, depends on the person, but there are people that, they are more impulsive and they do things different, and that's not bad, and that's not something to be scared of. On the other hand, if you're sitting around waiting and saying, well, they used to be like this, I knew they were like this, and for short-term change, okay, yeah, hold on and wait and see if they change back. But if they've been on a different trajectory for a significant amount of time, then they have changed as a person and they're not going back. And keep that in mind too, and try to keep it somewhere in the middle. And that's really hard. Middle ground is like not cool for avoidant people. They want it to be really clear, know exactly what's going on, that feels safe. This is not necessarily the best way to live, however, so again, this is something that you would work on for a long time, to pay attention to it first and then try to accept a little bit of gray area and see if that will actually make things better in the long run for you.